Hi, this is Arun, the founder and CEO of Shellkode. Today we are going to talk about generative AI. I think everybody would have talked about in event forums or you would have seen in your social media. But today what we are going to talk about is how businesses are taking generative AI into production and building it for the world. There are a lot to discuss today. I just wanted to start with a quick round of introduction and we'll discuss a lot about it. So we have three amazing guests with us who are going to talk about what they're doing. Before that, I want them to introduce themselves. Yeah, Swarna, can you introduce about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Arun. My name is Swarna and I'm founder and CEO of Boggl.ai.
Yeah. So Ganesh,
I'm Ganesani. I'm Senior Partner Solutions Architect in India AWS.
Rahul.
I'm Rahul Kumar. I'm the account manager working with India startups at AWS.
Makes sense. So today I wanted to make it more interactive, like it's not just a podcast that we are building in, right? So I wanted to make it interactive, like how from a buzzword it goes to real life and then it making a lot of impact, right? So why can't you tell about what Boggl does or what it needs for customer to adopt Boggl and who is your target customers or an audience?
Yeah, sure. So Boggl.ai, right now it is a product development lifecycle app which is powered by AI. Our journey has been since quite tumultuous, to be honest. So in the beginning, we started off as a product requirement document app. So to give a little more context, I was a UX designer plus a product manager before I started Boggl.ai. And being a newbie product manager, I discovered that it's really hard for product managers to, create so much documentation.
Yeah.
And also it is hard for stakeholders because people who read these documentation, they end up reading different ways and formats of these PRDs and requirements documents. So, and also the fact that everything is so fragmented. There's a different tool for road mapping, there's a different tool for documentation, there's a different tool for task management. It's pretty crazy.
Startups.
Yeah, it's especially with startups. And startups, don't get me started with their processes, but yeah, it's pretty crazy, like how everything is so fragmented. So in the beginning, I thought like I'm going to make PRDs better. So it was mostly like a tool, a template tool to help product managers create PRDs. And then when the AI boom hit, I thought like, why don't we leverage that? And so in the beginning, we were very much generative AI, wherein we help users create and generate PRDs. And from the PRDs, then we moved on to generating release notes and customer product documents and test cases from these PRDs. Because in essence, PRDs are source of truth, right? Like for any product team or even a startup founder, they refer to their PRDs to see that, okay, what is the history of this particular feature that I've released? So, and then we realized very quickly, like coming to the point that you mentioned where it needs to be more than just generative AI, because oftentimes we also used to face that question where customers say that, why don't I just generate this on ChatGPT, right? If I want to create a PRD, I can just go to ChatGPT and do that. So we realized very quickly the importance of having a very logical flow and a framework to this AI. It cannot just be a generative AI where you generate these documents.
Uh-huh.
It needs to be more than that. So that's where Boggl.ai has now taken in the form of an entire product development lifecycle app where you can actually start to the end of your product development lifecycle till the release and launch of your feature. You can manage everything on one app.
Yep.
And it's all AI powered in a way that it makes sense.
Great. I'm like,
Yeah.
we were like, we had a discussion a lot about this, right? From the task management or what are the features that you're bringing.
Right.
I'm excited and I want customers to use this and see and come to you and share with
Thank
people.
you.
So I just wanted to go back to Rahul and ask, where do you first meet Boggl? Because I know AWS has a lot of programs or a lot of ways that you have to incubate partners, right? How do you meet Boggl and how the journey begins?
Yeah, sure. So in May this year, right, we hosted one of our largest annual events, which is the AWS Summit here in Bangalore. And at that bustling startup booth, we met two amazing founders, Swarna and Bharat from Boggl. And when we got talking, the clarity and the kind of the enthusiasm about this problem that they were solving, right, was really infectious and got us hooked. So as we spoke, we understood what are the problems, what is the current focus that Boggl is looking to solve, and what are the kind of problems that you're helping product managers with. And then we could identify some of the key areas where AWS could support their growth and help them scale.
Makes sense. And I know there is not just Summit, right? You have a couple of events like Loft, especially curated
Yeah.
for startups, and many
Yeah.
more events.
Yeah.
I just wanted to pick the brain of Ganesh. I know Ganesh for years now. I think Ganesh is one of the amazing tech cum business guy, few guys who speak tech and business, and especially helping customers and partner, helping alongside. Ganesh, can you tell like what value add that you're giving to customer? Just right. I just wanted to pick your brains. What value add that AWS is giving, not just a platform. I just wanted to hear from you.
Sure. That's quite a hype, but I don't think that's the reality. Rahul would agree to me. And you're saying it's been quite a while for me. I hope you're not calling me a furniture in AWS. Yeah, so just to give a little background, my current role in AWS is to help our partners, and primarily I support our startups, make sure that they are successful through our partners. And that's where I think this engagement follows through. Right?
Yeah.
So just filling up from that thread itself, right? We have amazing list of partners who are dedicatedly working towards startups journeys, and not just consulting partner. We also have our marketplace partners, product based SaaS partners that we have, right? So there's quite a support when it comes to partners. But from an AWS platform standpoint, I think that's where your question is currently targeted towards, right? So we are not just targeting platform, we are also targeting services, we are also targeting each and every area that we can contribute when it comes to generative AI, be it having models, third-party models from our marketplace and giving secure access to our customers in a cost-effective manner, giving infrastructure, giving EC2 instances, virtual machines that are dedicated towards generative AI, where you can run your own foundation models in a very cost-effective manner, and something that you can scale very easily. And not just that, we also have applications built in like Amazon Q, wherein if you're not that technically sound, if you don't want to build yourself, you can actually use those applications and you can take forward. And using all these services like Bedrock, Amazon Bedrock, Amazon SageMaker, you can actually bundle those and create a solution for yourself as well. And I think that's where we'll hear more from Suvarna as to what were their journey in terms of really taking it up from AWS. What I've seen so far when it comes to India startups is that in the last 1 year or so, and that's where this boom has really come up when it comes to generative AI. I think most of the startups talk about generative AI just because it's a buzzword. It takes them time to understand how generative AI can actually really add value to their business, right? And generative AI, I personally feel it's not something that everyone should mandatorily be using. Only if it makes sense, then you should really target generative AI. But there are a few use cases that a lot of our startup customers have really taken forward on AWS itself, be it document scanning, or be it generating content on media, and or like just last week itself, I was meeting one of the e-commerce customers who are using generative AI, and I think most of you will guess the name of that customer, but they were using generative AI to model entire room, just so that you can attach a furniture and see how it looks in the room itself before you actually buy the That's such a unique use case, right? And we were also meeting one of the customers who sells mattresses, and you can just click a pic of the entire room, and they'll tell you, hey, what should be the size of the mattress, and whether that will be suitable for your entire room or not. That's a really good real world use case, right? If you look at it,
That sounds interesting, right? And one great power which I see in India also, which has quite large engineering force. Now having generative AI power into us, there are a lot of companies which are getting started through generative AI. A lot of founders are coming in generative AI, and I feel there was a hype cycle on generative AI. Everybody start thinking about, which you told, right? Everybody wanted to do the testing. The FOMO has come down, and they know where to use, what to use. The use cases are coming, building for the world. That's what I liked in Boggl, that what they are doing. And like Ganesh, I just wanted to stitch that thread that you told, right? How not just a platform provider that you are supporting. And I just wanted to hear from Swarna telling about how was the journey with AWS for you, right? I wanted to have that conversation, stitching with Ganesh, whether it truly helped you or just an infrastructure player that AWS gives to you.
Right. So we were always hosted on AWS, and like Rahul mentioned earlier, we met him in May, and we had one of the challenges that we were facing was so we were kind of hooked onto OpenAI. we largely using OpenAI APIs, and there was a lot of challenges that we were facing coming when it comes to the narrative of data security with that.
Okay.
And also like we're a startup, so we bootstrapped and things like that. So we're also looking for a little more support on the AWS side for prolonging our our hosting and all of that stuff. So I would say like AWS has helped us on multiple in multiple ways. So the onboarding onto Bedrock was a very smooth process. What we initially thought was an effort for data security has become much more. So of course we now have a very solid narrative for data security because Bedrock ensures that none of the data is used for training.
Everything resides in your own network.
Yes. So that's like a big plus for us right now to help us with our narrative with our customers. But above all, we also have like multiple data models to experiment with, and that's what we're doing right now. Like to see like yesterday we kind of integrated with Mistral, which seems to be giving very nice results for a specific kind of document that we support. So it's nice to have these kind of a very safe environment in which you can experiment with different data models and be able to like fine tune and improve quality for our customers. So and of course the whole process has been quite seamless, and the KT and all of that. So now we are able to manage this completely on our own without much.
I was having a conversation with my tech team how the journey that is going with Boggl. Then they were telling today the model evaluation is going faster, and day to day every week there is a release in the model, and there are a couple of large language models and swan language models which are coming in. So one thing what surprised me when my tech team is telling is that they are using multimodal approach. So based on your content, based on your requirement, it goes and talks to different models, and then based on the situation or the data that you wanted to deal with, it goes to different model and it brings up the data. Thanks, Runa, for your brief of the pain point that you were doing. I just wanted to speak and touch base with Rahul on number of programs that startups are doing because that is more important for startups or any stage of company, right? To understand what programs that AWS is doing to incubate customers and getting most out of it, right? So can you touch base on those things?
Sure, absolutely. So for the last 10 years, AWS has been supporting startups through our flagship program called Activate, be it in their formation stage or their ideation stage going from 0 to 1, or be it in the growth stage going 1 to 10, be it funded or unfunded, right? It covers the whole gamut. And the way we support startups is one through credits. There are several benefits, right, through this program. And some of them I can say is one through credits. Another is technical support and amazing partners like Shellkode. And having tailored kind of accelerator programs like the Global GenAI Accelerator and the SaaS Spotlight. And you can say the self-paced learning paths and the certifications through our AWS Skill Builder program and events through AWS GenAI Loft, right? In fact, we had just a couple of months ago, we had our first GenAI Loft here in Bangalore for 2 weeks. And for those 2 weeks, startups and developers could come, learn about the latest in GenAI from our solutions architects and from our leaders while networking with fellow founders. So these are some of the programs where we help startups co-build, co-market, and co-sell, and also help them with the go-to-market strategies through our Amazon partner network and the AWS marketplace.
That was an amazing thing, right? Even I could proudly say I'm from Tier 2 city in Coimbatore, right? In last 1 year, right, around 65 plus startups has been get benefited out of Activate program, and there are customers who are like going to become a unicorn. And I got surprised that they are also getting benefit of different AWS program. They're telling this is what we are testing out. AWS is telling that, okay, we will support you from a tech perspective or from a credit perspective initially, right? That helps boosting customer to come out and do something innovative. That is mind-blowing. That's the innovation that startup is giving, being from a customer obsessed. I love that program. Thanks, Rahul, for sharing about the program. That's what we liked working with AWS. Our customer liked more working with AWS. Now, one thing, Swarna, just I wanted to ask on Boggl, right? What is the value proposition that you are giving to customer? The reason why I'm asking is there are a lot of conversation internally and externally. I used to have that now RIP to SaaS and as this is agent as a service which is rising in. But I'm a strong believer that any software that is not going to scale without adding generative AI, or just generative AI cannot go into scale. It's about how the stitch of marrying it together, the existing software, integrating generative AI, right? So I wanted to understand what's the value proposition for a customer which Boggl.ai is going to give.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I totally agree with what you said, actually, with that specific point as to only generative AI versus just something without generative AI, right? In the beginning of our journey, we really struggled with the concept of MVP. Everybody talks about minimal viable product. And, there has been a lot of narratives around how MVP is not supposed to be the way we think about it and things like that. I think in the world of SaaS, MVP is a very challenging concept because no company is going to use your SaaS product unless and until it's completely polished, fine-tuned, everything is working perfectly, it's fast and all of that, right? It should be like super functioning.
Yeah,
Can't
getting a
really
design
rule-
partner or what to do that. Whether what way ideating is correct or not. Getting
Exactly.
the first customer.
Yes, even to get that fun first customer, you cannot really have like a patchwork thing where you say that, okay, the icons are a little bit this way and, a little bit, you have this toast which comes here and that's okay. Like, that's not going to work. Like, you need to have everything. It should be completely finished, polished product. That's how it is right now. There are too many players in the market, so you can't really... So that is something we really struggled with in the beginning, where we thought like, okay, our MVP needs to be lean, and then we quickly figured out that no, we need to be something that someone can completely rely on. So it cannot be like a scrappy thing, especially for SaaS. And in the world of SaaS, everything is fragmented, right? You have like VCs tell you that you need to like focus on this one particular pain point and go deep into that, and that's how you crack the market. Whilst that is great and that has worked so far, it is actually creating a lot of pain points for the end users, because like I said earlier, like you end up moving from SaaS product to finish your work, right? Like one specific tool is really good with feedback management, one specific tool is really good with role mapping, and then you move to Google Docs to create your PRD, and then you move to something else to do your release notes and things like that. So the value prop is the fact that we stitch everything together. And like you said, right, like we started off with just like a minimum PRD generating tool, and then we put an AI layer on top of it. And after that, we kind of evolved into something which was a SaaS product end-to-end functionality-wise, which is powered by AI. And we also support voice AI. I'm very bullish personally on voice AI. I think voice AI is very interesting because, see, we are all very used to typing, right? But what is typing? Typing is think, process, and then figure out the letters and type, right? Yeah. But it's so easy to talk. Like right now, we're talking, we're getting it done, right? Imagine if we had to write this down. It takes 3 weeks, right? And it's same for a PRD. For a product manager to actually write a product requirement document in, say, a mid-sized company, it would probably take a week, right? And that's like a very, I'm being conservative in my estimate. It takes like a half a day to generate create. I wouldn't say generate, but on Boggl is generate. But yeah, you create a user story, right? So when you're actually voicing out your ideas, it's more intuitive. You know actually what you're talking about. Of course, there's a learning curve because we're not used to talking about our ideas unless it's with people, right? But here with Boggl, you can actually talk to your software and have it create things for you and have it, do things for you. So it's almost like a personal assistant that you work with. So that's the value. Yeah, the value proposition is this, plus the fact that we knit everything together so that you don't have to go from tool to tool to do your product work.
So it's all in one bundle together.
It's all in one. And we specifically are looking at smaller teams. So you can be a founder who has like just developers. And oftentimes founders are also the product person in the company, right? And you don't have to hire anybody to manage your product. You can do it in Boggl.ai because we'll take care of the entire flow and you just have to like oversee it.
Oh, that's amazing. That was on research that big companies are publishing their research that going forward, one founder is enough rather than having multi-founders, right? So I think Boggl can be a founder who has a product vision, then take Boggl, incorporate as an assistant to do a PRDA, and then run through it. So
we're basically your CPO.
No, that's good. And I just wanted to understand, when you're merging your software with the generative AI, what are the challenges that you're faced during this journey, right? I just wanted to understand those technical journey because there are a lot of jargons into it because everybody are telling new things are getting released. How do you adapt? What is the technical challenges or what's your journey?
Right. There have been multiple challenges. Initially, we started off with OpenAI. And in the beginning, we were mostly focused on how the functional aspect of it, of how the app works, and AI was just a layer on top of it, right? But with the AI came the question of data security and things like that. And we kind of configured our prompts to suit OpenAI, so we were getting really good results with OpenAI. And ideally, we would like to add an additional data security with OpenAI, but Azure is so expensive, and it was difficult. We had already onboarded onto AWS, and the whole question of moving into Azure and all of that was just too much effort. AWS was more supportive in terms of
So
the cost and all of that. We were already on AWS because generative AI was a layer we added on top of our existing prototype.
Okay.
That was how we began. So that's when we approached Rahul, and then the Pandora's box opened,
Okay.
And of course, there was a little bit of prompt management and things like that because different models work differently. But once we were on Bedrock, we actually found it very fluidic in how we can actually improve things across the board. So what we had to, there were a lot of things with OpenAI because it's just like one kind of quality that you would get with OpenAI. When you have multiple models, like for example, people say that Claude is a little more human-like, right? So and Mistral is very nice in terms of detailed creation and things like that. So you had this whole spectrum of how you play around and make things better. So coming back to your question of challenges, that I would say, of course, data security, and also I would say it's more like a qualitative improvement when you have a host of models you can experiment with. So that has been
referred to voice, since
right.
The performance or latency plays a key role. How do you see that, and what sort of improvement do you see?
Right. So when we moved to Bedrock, initially there were some latency issues, but that was quickly, I would say that there was a good support system for figuring all those things out. So I would say that latency is definitely not an issue with Bedrock. I think since we already had a setup and everything, I was quite surprised as to how easy it was to actually get integrated. I thought it's going to take a couple of months, but it didn't. It took. And also, as we started experimenting with models within Bedrock, we got more and more ambitious. We wanted to say, we want to try this, and then we wanted to try that, and we wanted to experiment. So all those kinds of changes and configurations that we wanted was pretty easy to do. At the end of the day, it's just a question of saying that, hey, can we do this? And then it was done. So in that way, it was pretty good. And of course, there were challenges in terms of the integration part of it. There were latency issues and things like that, which was taken care of. So that was great. There was one thing that I noticed, which I hadn't paid attention to, ironically being a bootstrap startup, the fact that Claude, a lot of these models are much, much cheaper than OpenAI. I think Claude is 1/4 the cost, if I'm not wrong, than OpenAI, and Mistral is also quite cheap compared to OpenAI. So these were kind of we ended up having multiple benefits, though our main theme go-to for Bedrock was basically data security, but we had all these fringe benefits that came along the way, which was really great. And with data security, which really improved our narrative, we have one company who, a ProcureTech company who really values this. And because of Bedrock, we could improve our narrative, and even the usage of the application got much better with our existing customers, with the fact that we have now moved to Bedrock. So that's been quite good. So like I said before, we were previously just on OpenAI, right? We didn't really think about experimenting with different things. But of course, the whole experimentation of trying out different models happened only after Bedrock. But to be honest, we figured out the advantage of having multiple models to play with much later. But in hindsight, definitely, if we had to do this and improve quality in terms of, this kind of heterogeneity of models that you use, it would have been a lot of effort. We probably wouldn't have gone into it so early in our journey. We would have probably kind of deferred it for much later. With Bedrock, what happened was we were able to experiment earlier. We were able to optimize amongst models earlier. So that really helped. And of course, the support system, like I mentioned, Shellkode was very instrumental in terms of helping us in moving between models and giving that whole knowledge transfer as to how we can do it ourselves as well, which is also very important. It's very important for startups to also be very autonomous. So that has been great. Like that has really improved, kind of pushed us probably 2 or 3x in terms of how far ahead we are in the AI game.
So startups are always little hesitant, or there's always an inhibition when it comes to their IP and involving partners. What was your view when it comes to leveraging Shellkode? And in hindsight, do you also see some inhibition, or if there's any other startup who wants to leverage Shellkode or any partner of that sort, any suggestions for them?
Well, I didn't have any inhibition. The way I look at the whole startup game is that grow and help everybody grow. And that's how I saw, even like when I met Rahul, the vibe was very much that, right? AWS is very much that. Like even Shellcode has been on very much like, let's help you and let's grow together, right? I think that's when you're in a startup zone, like you need to be expansive and help and grow and all of that. So I would say, like, for people who have that inhibition, I think it's important to prioritize your growth than your fears. That can go a long way, even outside of just this particular topic. Like in all aspects of the startup world, that can go a long way.
That I think we are in an era where that has been changed. It is like era we grow together, and I know what I'm doing in, and this is where I need your help. Just come chime in with us. This is what we are doing in. Just pull along with us and let us grow together. That's a journey that I see. Everybody has that openness. It's a matter of time of understanding, okay, where we need, when we need, because it's time and cost, right? Two things comes into picture. And then now even the enterprise are also changing towards this notion, okay, let us take the startups who can able to help us on the niche areas. I see that the growth is good.
It's not this jealousy or those kind of feelings, right? Sometimes what we see is that startups primarily in fintech domain or healthcare domain, they have compliances, audits, and they have the data from a end client's perspective, right? So they need that kind of security to really leverage partners. And that's where I think I've seen Shellcode also signing NDAs with the customers just to earn trust with the customers in the beginning. And I think that helps. So I was just touching on that part.
Oh, right. It is a little bit of a decision-making point where you say that, okay, I'm willing to give these credentials to this partner. But I think overall, to make it happen, right, to prioritize that growth, that was very important for us as well. So, of course, we got all of those conversations done and things like that. And it was pretty, there was a certain amount of confidence that we achieved with that. And then we went ahead with it. So that has been great.
Yeah, and then we are also being compliant there because since you touch based on the end customer, so how secured we are, how, like, you might know with whom you're dealing with. For example, doctor knows with the patient whom they are dealing with. How well the nurse is equipped is more matter to support the doctor, right? That's what I think the journey matters most.
Right.
So thanks for telling about your journey. So one thing I wanted to add to this is, rather than me talking, Ganesh can add more value since he is leading the partner org in AWS India startups. So I wanted to Ganesh to talk about how partners like us and AWS collaboratively helping customers. So that could give a clear picture.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think most of our viewers would agree to it that when we say AWS, Amazon, we are always customer obsessed. But I think very few know that we are also very partner obsessed. What that means is just taking a reference of India, we have more than 10,000 odd partners. Not just at the consulting phase, we also have partners across marketplace as well, wherein the products, the SaaS products that you can actually use from a marketplace itself, and you can take advantage for your business. And that's where I think one of our generative AI competent partner like Shellcode, right? And just giving an example from your experience itself, within the last 1 year, I think we have closed close to 100 odd customers when it comes to generative AI, which is something that is something which is surprising for a lot of viewers, because when we say generative AI, it's almost like, hey, we are doing a POC, or we are just rolling out stuff, right? It's very less that, hey, are we going into production? But I think we have achieved a good amount of number when it comes to going to production.
Shellkode alone achieved 20 plus customers going into production on AWS.
So that's quite a good thing. But yeah, that's where when we say startups, it's always like, hey, we are builders. And which is true to an extent as well. But what I've seen interacting with few of our startup founders is in these current times, they want cost-effective things. They want speed to be really fast. They want to deliver results, deliver outcomes to their end clients, deliver products. You were talking about the MVP thing, right? It's very difficult if you want to do everything yourself. And that's where partners can really bring in their expertise, their industry expertise, the AWS expertise. I mean, I was talking to Rahul also before this podcast, 200 plus services in AWS. I'm a solutions architect and sometimes even I don't remember a few of the services, right? So that's where partners come in, right? They have solution architects, they have industry experts. For example, Shellkode itself, right? If you look at them, they have machine learning specialists, they have data science specialists, which is very difficult for a startup to hire on a contractual basis, right? So they can take partners' support in terms of building, in terms of growing, in terms of optimizing their cost and so on and so forth. And that's what we are seeing with most of the startups. We started when I think 6 or 7 years back when I started supporting in this role, right? We were seeing a lot of inhibitions when it comes to startups leveraging partners. But I think with all the case studies and success stories that we're seeing, one of you is one of that is Boggl.ai as well. We see startups are now being more open towards leveraging partners like Shellkode itself. So that's there. I hope that answers.
No, perfect.
So if I can ask a question, like how would a startup approach
That's a very good question.
you and like
absolutely
articulate the requirement? How does that dynamic happen?
So your first point of contact is always going to be a dedicated account manager. Like Rahul is sitting here for you specifically, right? So we have a dedicated team of account managers, solutions architect, technical account managers, business developers, and so on and so forth, right? Who are dedicated towards a specific startup. And that's where I say we are not just customer obsessed, we are also startup obsessed. There's a different team that supports startups throughout the journey, be it in the early phase when they are just getting funded, or in the ideation phase, to a phase where they have grown already and they want to optimize their cost or they want to optimize their architecture, right? So we have a dedicated team to kind of support a startup. But to answer your question, your first point, any startup, their first point of contact has to be the account manager. Now you can reach out to the account manager and tell them that, hey, this is the requirement that we have. And that's where the account managers will reach out to me or the extended partner community that we have within AWS. And we'll have a communication with you as to what are your requirements. And out of all the partners that we have, there's a different team within the partner organization that is there in AWS who work only for our startups. Like while my role says partner solutions architect, I'm partner agnostic. I'm not dedicated to a specific partner. And I know Arun won't like this part of me, but
He wants you all for himself.
no. So if there's a case where it doesn't make sense for Shellkode to be involved or doesn't make sense for a specific partner to get involved, that's our responsibility to let that not happen. We work from a startup perspective. We work backwards from your needs, from your requirements, and then we align the right set of a partner, be it consulting, be it a product partner. So your first point of contact to answer question is account manager, and then your account manager will do the rest. Sorry, Rahul, I'm putting you as a...
No, I think that's right.
I'm putting more work on your table, but okay.
I think that's great. Just to follow up on that,
A simple thing that all startups can do is go on the AWS for startups page and sign up with even a personal email ID or a company or the startup email ID, and get your hands get trying and testing and playing around with the platform. And it is free for all when it comes to signing up on AWS for startups and leveraging some of the basic services. So we have a free tier where startups could come and experiment on the AWS Activate and see how if they could find a product fit, if they could find the use case, and if they could fine tune that.
So for me, like I approached Rahul in the summit, and that was like very organic. But how would a startup who is not working from their office, how would they approach, and how would they know who's their account manager?
That's actually a good question. I missed on that. So what you can do is in our AWS landing page itself, there is an Activate landing page, as even Rahul was mentioning earlier. Register in the activate page, just register through your domain name, through your email ID, and there'll be a dedicated email that will be sent to you along with the details, right? And I think, Rahul, if you want to share some more insights as to, how we can align our account managers to.
Yeah, sure. So as soon as you create an account ID, you would be assigned a representative from AWS to get in touch with you to understand what are you building, how we can help. And then that's where the journey begins. And then you get introduced to the larger ecosystem where it's not only the account manager or the account team or the solution architect team that could help you, but if you can look at it from a wide lens, it would be also teams that are managing relationships and building relationships with venture capitalists and businesses outside, and also technical teams like ProCert teams who manage the service engagement, and also partners, and also access to the AWS ecosystem, right? So those are some of the ways where a startup could go on AWS for Startups website and then sign up, and then we would get in touch with you because we are eager to talk to you as much as you are.
So Ganesh, you mentioned earlier something about AWS Marketplace. So could you throw some light on that and how a startup like mine could get listed on that?
I would rather ask Rahul to answer this question. Rahul, why don't we talk about AWS Marketplace and how it helps our startups?
Oh, no, absolutely. Would be happy to answer that. So,
Marketplace, you can think of Marketplace as an Amazon.com for software and services, right, on AWS. So a couple of things, a couple of problems that Marketplace solves or helps startups is, one is get in front of their customers, and which would help with discoverability. And you would have an option to get customer feedback, get reviews, get ratings, and kind of build your credibility on the AWS Marketplace, and also in terms of the fulfillment, right? So it makes it easy for new customers to use the service with the click of a button, or also get in touch with you for a private offer. And I would ask Ganesh to give a quick walkthrough on what are the nitty-gritties when it comes to registration.
Yeah, I think the registration part is fairly not that difficult actually. We have more than 1,000 odd product listing already when it comes to marketplace, and I'm being very conservative when I say 1,000 plus, right? And the process is simple. There are different boot camps that we do for our startups, and we also have a registration landing page as well. If you go to the marketplace, you'll be able to just register on the marketplace itself, and there'll be a team that will actually guide you through the process. There's a process where we do the technical review for you, where we analyze what is your architecture, where we see whether the product has any gaps that we can fix, because ultimately we also want to be very, very cautious about our end clients who are leveraging products on marketplace, right? So the process is fairly simple, and we'll have a team who will actually support you. And yeah, it usually doesn't take a lot of time. And plus, if you're a startup and you have lesser bandwidth, you can also leverage partners like Shellkode, who can actually do the foundational technical review and can really help you across the journey in a very quick manner, without you really breaking your head in terms of understanding what goes through the entire phase. They can actually offload that heavy lifting for you.
So what does it cost? Is there a fee to getting listed in the AWS Marketplace?
Let me do one thing. Let me redirect this question to Arun. Arun, I think you have helped a lot of customers in terms of placing them on marketplace, right? Why don't you share your experience as to what is the cost, what is the time, so on and so forth?
Yeah. So once we onboard a customer for the marketplace listing, so it's a 6 weeks process we'll go through. During the 6 weeks process, we understand the product well, and then we see what are the gaps in terms of security or in terms of high availability, in terms of resilience, all those things. Once we complete those process, the checklist, basically both the checklist, we identify maker checker we wanted to do. Once that has been done, then we will go back to AWS that these all checklist has been covered. Then it's good to list in marketplace, and there is a cost covered to it to list in the marketplace that will be net to net covered by other programs as well. That's how your journey will.
Okay.
So thanks everyone. I think it was a great session, having a thoughtful conversation, and each of you brought different personas and the value adds for the end customers or our partners, or being how AWS adds more value. Thanks Arnav for coming in, and I really liked the journey of Boggl, right? It is an AI assisted CPO for all the startups and companies. So one key takeaway I wanted everyone to look into is, so everybody are talking about generative AI, and there is a FOMO which is coming in, or there is a hype cycle which is going down. But what being a generative AI pioneer as a Shellkode, what we see is enterprises are looking as generative AI to increase their productivity, right from the customer experience or operational excellence, whereas startups are looking as a generative AI to be a market differentiator or how the revenue generation is going to be there, right? When there is an actual productivity or the value proposition of generative AI is going to be the moment you would start taking into your day-to-day operations. So if you're thinking, okay, how do I get started in my journey? Or, okay, I already began my generative AI, but I'm getting stuck to move forward. I just want you guys to visit Shellkode website or AI Frontier. It's a platform for you to get started for your business. And then we have built purposefully 75 plus industry solution, right from fintech, retail, logistics, healthcare. So I want you to explore those things, sign up, and we are there to help you out in this journey. So if you want to reach out to Shellkode or AWS or Boggl, see the description below. So thanks for watching this episode. Stay tuned for more such conversation on generative AI. Sign into Shellkode and AI Frontier for more such informative videos.